This episode of the podcast is sponsored by the Alternative Gallery in Allentown, PA. The Alternative Gallery offers studio space for artists and businesses and is meant to be a launchpad for projects. The AG is a blank canvas that can be anything. The only limitation is the community's imagination. For more information, visit thealternativegallery.com. What's up, everybody? It's the Poorly Edited Podcast, the show where we put a spotlight on some of the most creative minds we can find, as best as a couple college kids can do.
Are we still doing that?
Take it away, man.
Not very well. My name's Coffee Guy.
I'm
Josh.
I'm Lizzie.
Patrick.
So we got Eric Mintel on the piano.
Oh, it's like 3D when it gets closer. Yeah. This guitar.
Dude.
How you doing, man?
Oh.
It's good to have
What's
you
up,
back.
guys? Eric Mintel.
How are you?
Ah, man, I'm good. So good. I'm gonna put you guys here. Is that better?
Yeah,
Sure.
Yeah,
Cool.
sure.
Whatever you're feeling.
So what's happening, man?
Trying to stay busy.
Not a whole lot.
Got the COVID blues.
Yeah.
Don't we all? Don't we
Yeah.
all,
Yeah.
man? You know, I love the fact that you guys are still at it, and just, still doing the social distancing guidelines, but you're still getting stuff done.
Yeah.
That's good because we got to keep going.
Yeah, I mean, we would be going, it would be so much
And I
worse.
think everybody's frozen here.
Are you?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
I gotta move
It
this.
would be so much worse if we weren't still trying to work and
Yeah.
make things work. You know what I mean? I'd be going crazy
Oh yeah, big time. Like this guy here.
like Bigfoot.
He's having the time of his life. No one's bothering him.
Exactly.
For once.
The hide and seek champion of the world.
Yeah.
So how have you been staying busy, man?
Yeah, staying busy and trying to stay healthy and all that good stuff. But yeah, I mean, I figure as not only a musician but also filmmaker, I mean, you guys could appreciate this too. Is you have to book ahead because eventually, we are going to be out of this.
Right.
So we just have to we got to try to look ahead and book ahead. So video wise for our Bucks County Paranormal Investigations, I've got like 4 videos on the books. As soon as everything starts opening up, and they're from like Ohio, Pennsylvania, Maryland. So, a lot of traveling, but it's like one of those waiting games. Like, when's everything going to open up to do that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it'll be easier doing that because you've got a controlled environment, when you only have a few people around. Whereas for our jazz gigs, I mean, it's been, to be honest with you, it's been tough because a lot of gigs got postponed until the fall.
Jeez.
So as a result of that, so has my income.
Yeah.
And everybody's struggling, and I get it, and we're all waiting for the government checks and stuff, but even that, I still have to book ahead. So all the gigs got postponed. We're going to go for the fall, probably September, October. As far as I know, Music Fest is still on. I didn't hear anything different about that, so we're still playing there. And I know you guys came last year and saw us
Yeah,
there.
it was awesome.
And we had a great time. We loved it there. We always love it there. So, that's the thing. And I'm just kind of booking ahead now, just trying to stay busy, trying to do videos. We're doing some funny videos and stuff. We just did a video the other night because I figured, we're just got to keep our creative juices flowing, and I know you guys can appreciate that too.
Yeah. We've been doing our best.
You have.
Yeah.
Is my mic okay? You can hear me okay?
Yeah.
Hey, you've
Yeah.
been fine.
No, you're good.
So is that really your main thing right now in terms of the music, is to try to book things way far out in advance as much as possible? I mean, are there any ideas that you've had of like trying to be like, I don't know. I mean, it's almost getting to the point where, as this kept progressing, it was just like, oh, it'll be over soon. It'll be over soon. And it just keeps going and going and going. It's almost at the point where I've seen a lot of people I follow, like, they're starting to examine, other ideas, other formats of how to still be a musician in this new situation. Have you played with any ideas of like maybe what that would look like if you were pressed to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I have no problem doing stuff online, online concerts and things like that. That's fine. It's just, it's a different type of situation because, with this situation where, you can't get crowds of more than 50 people, that's going to be a problem because, we draw at least 51 people. So problem. So no, so online things are great. To be honest with you, we're going to try to do an outdoor concert here, out in my backyard, me and the guys, and just, but what I have to be careful of, I mean, us musicians, yes, we need money as much as the next person, and I just kind of cringe a little bit when I see some musicians on there that are doing like their Venmo and PayPal thing online for themselves. For me, I just feel like I don't want to take people's money who are suffering, who don't have it already, because they're in the same boat we are. So I figure if we do this concert out here, I want to try to do like maybe like a benefit for a food bank or something. There's a place in Lambertville. It's called Fisherman's Mark, and it's a food bank. So hopefully, we could do something there. I have to figure it all out. But so you're talking about, have I figured out different avenues? And that's one. You got to think differently. Like, okay, where's the talent's going to go in a positive direction? So that's kind of where we're at now. And, and a lot of my musician friends are just kind of like sitting at home, and just kind of like wondering what the heck's going to happen next. And, but, I also use this time to, self-reflect, also to practice, write new music. So that's what I've been doing as well, on the music end of it. So that's been pretty cool. And I've written a whole bunch of, new tunes. And sometimes, in situations like this, I know some of you guys will agree that your creativity, because you're kind of forced, if you're brain, right? You need to create. And this kind of puts you in a situation where, hey, you know what? You got nothing to do but create.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a different situation. A lot of people maybe some people are struggling with addictions and stuff like that. So across the board, everybody's going through so many different stories beyond the financial thing. It's a psychological thing. But I always look at the bright side. I try to always be, positive and optimistic. And I try to look at every day, like every day is like Christmas morning, if that makes sense. Just kind of gives you a good feeling.
You must have a lot of presents then. That's crazy.
Another word for you, Pat.
So we've
Show
been
the people, Pat. Show the people.
I got nothing.
You said show the people your shirt.
Ah, right. It's gonna be backwards too because it's on a webcam.
Oh no!
No,
it's forwards.
It is.
Yeah.
And then it's got
the classic.
With that
Dude.
radio. And it's got
The classic.
and that's it. And then there's a back too.
Keep going. Okay.
Yeah.
Just keep I would have taken my shirt off if I did that.
Then all the ladies would have been like, "Oh man."
They would have been like, "Oh man, I didn't want to see."
Views
that.
go up.
So we've been attempting to write music, and it's been interesting. It's like our first endeavor. So we've been trying to like trailblaze, I guess, where many have gone before. But when writing, like for you, how does writing like jazz stuff work? Because I know there's a lot of improvisation that goes in it. So is it like, do you just write like the structure of a song and then like you let everybody fill it out, or?
I'll play you something that I just did. This is kind of what I do. So I'll sit here at the piano and I'll be kind of going, and I'll kind of come up with some different chords and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'll try to put some chords together. So one day I'm sitting here and I'm putting things together, and you kind of put chords together, and it's kind of like your laboratory. You're putting in, all these different permutations and chord structures and things. And then I came up with this tune. So all of a a sudden there's a tune.
Yeah.
That's one tune, and then that would be kind of like the A. What we do in jazz, our type of music is where you have forms. You've got a different type of form, so that could be considered the A form, like the beginning of the tune. Then you've got a bridge, which is the B section. So I did a bridge on that, and then you go back to the A section. So a lot of times that's how I'll write tunes, or I always look at it, people, places, and things. That's how a lot of music happens for me too. It could be experiences. It could be like we're on a ghost hunt or something. Something might trigger a song, or we get done a gig one night, and I've always got this music going through my head, and I'll have little pieces of music that I'll think, oh man, that would make a cool tune. So as an instrumental piece, there's no vocals obviously or anything like that. But I guess a lot of my tunes I have written some lyrics to. So we've had people, sing some of the tunes, because I guess it's important for me that it's very melodic. So I feel as though as a jazz musician, you want to have people latch onto a melody, because you know how it is. If you hear a great melody, it's like it always goes through your head. So I'm always like very strong melody oriented. And so as a result of that, a lot of the tunes kind of can lend themselves to some lyrics. But a lot of times it'll be like people, places, and things. We'll play a jazz festival, and you get a good feeling from the audience. Or it could be a crappy situation too. It could be a sad situation, So jazz is great in the fact that you've got so many emotions that can go into the music.
Yeah.
And then, so you come up with a tune or whatever, right? And then what happens when you bring it to the rest of the quartet? Does it evolve from there, or is it like?
Oh yeah. It's like a living organism. It's like it takes a life of its own. Because a lot of times, if you could see this, let me see if I could show you this. So I'll give the guys, let's see here. So this tune I just played, I don't know if you could see that or not.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Just chords, right? There's really no melody. I mean, there's a little melody there, but it's mainly chords, right? So I'll bring the chords to the guys and say, okay, the feel of this is like a medium swing. So Dave Moan, my drummer, knows what to play. Jack, the bass player, or Dave Antonell will know, bass wise, what I need in the beginning of the, say if it feels like a swing feel or a two feel or whatever, they'll know what to do instinctively there. So I don't really have to tell them anything. And then Nelson will either play the melody with me, or else I'll play the melody and then Nelson, will solo over it. But then what happens is every time we play it, because of those guys' individual strengths on their instrument, all of a sudden it becomes more than what I originally wrote down. Because you keep playing it and then it becomes more and more evolved. And it happens all the time in the music. So that's why I always say that jazz is different every time. The melodies and everything will be the same, but the improvisations are going to be different. So probably I would say, I mean, there's been times where I'll come to the gig and with one time through, the guys have never heard it before, and they nailed it, And it's a language too. We're speaking a common language. Music in jazz is a common language. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I've worked with musicians that you can connect with immediately, and others you're like, what the hell's going on, And they've done that, and I'm sure they've done that with me too, that it's like you're not on the same wavelength. But when you are, it's a beautiful thing that happens. It's great. And it's like that sixth sense happens, where you're like,
what do you think that comes from? Do you think that comes from, like, do you find that a lot of the people in your band that you do click with on that level, you guys have the same influences? Do you find you have a lot of the same taste in terms of the other works that you enjoy and stuff? Like, do you think there's a through line somewhere where you feel that's where that comes from a little bit? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love that question. And yeah, it's totally true. Each one of us has our own influences from, different musicians. Like Nelson Hill on saxophone, his main influence was Cannonball Adderley. But his teacher was Phil Woods, and Phil Woods, phenomenal saxophone player. And it was also his next door neighbor. So he had firsthand Right
What a
there.
lucky guy, man.
Yeah, I know, right?
Just
Phil got him to mow the lawn every once in a while. But no, I mean, and that was a perk of being a neighbor, and what a great influence, And the other thing is too, and me being influenced by Dave Brubeck. Dave was he connected with a lot of different musicians on different levels, and there were some musicians that did not like Dave Brubeck, but each one of us has our own strengths where everyone's listening, and that's the main thing. I can't say that enough. In this band, everyone listens, and even the tiniest little nuance, they're picking. Like Dave Moan, I'll be playing some kind of rhythmic thing on the piano, and all of a sudden Dave will pick up on what I'm playing and hit it exactly with me on the piano, even before we even play it together. And that's when you're like kind of on that level of like, wow, this is like something is going on here. And playing together so long, we've played together now for close to 20 years. You do read each other's minds, each other's style. And we kind of knew, like early on, even in the band, we all hit it off. We really clicked musically, and just really was creating like right out of the gate.
There is this really cool thing that happens when you play with somebody for an extended period of time. You almost know what they're going to do before they do it. Not that they're predictable, but you just know them. And that's a really cool experience.
Exactly. And the predictability is cool, but it's also nice too, because there have been times where I've been predictably playing something toward that end, and then I'll do something completely different, but they'll catch it, So, and again, it's the listening factor of it. And, you've got to also have passion. You're talking about writing music, and you're a passionate guy, and you want to be, and you like all you guys are incredibly passionate for what you do. And I love that. And that's what you want. You surround yourself with good people that want to create, because you know how it is. It's like sometimes you get with somebody, they're not fully into it. Their heart's not into it, whereas you have this vision of what you want to do. Early on, I went through a bunch of different band members. I had like different group members. I started my band in 1993. And, early on, I was like, the band leader that was like the taskmaster. I wanted it done like this, But then I calmed down because I figured, you know what? It can't really be what I want all the time. I have to get other inputs from everybody, because that's how you grow. Whether it's music or life, you got to have input from other people, Yeah. And so I learned that early on, and, and here we are today, and out of work.
So don't listen to anything I just said.
You're doing an act of God.
So don't listen to one thing, Pat.
That's crazy.
That's interesting.
No, yeah, it's what great experiences. I mean, like I said, this is like a temporary thing, but we've had some great experiences in playing our music, And the one thing I love is to be able to play like a chart, like you just saw, or that tune, to be able to play that to an audience, at the next gig. That's why I've written all these tunes, and because we have that outlet to do that, we built that audience up over that time frame, and people, genuinely love what we do. And it's kind of like our audience is really important to us. So I try to keep it as fresh as I can.
How often do you write new music? Is it like, I mean, now is obviously a great time to do it, but you seem like a really busy guy outside of this. And like after 20 years, I'm guessing you got a sizable bank of tunes.
A lot of my tunes are up here, believe it or not. It's like, so a lot of times I'm walking around with so much music swimming. Well, we lost Lizzie.
Yeah,
She's gone. She
she did
didn't
not
care
like that
anymore.
question.
She's gone. Yeah, she's like,
Pat, did you see
getting a little
Ghost back
boring.
there? But a lot of times I'm walking around with music in my head all the time, So, what I'll do is early on, like maybe, and I hasn't done it lately, but like I'll have a lot of tunes and I won't be able to write them down. I can write them down rudimentally, like very, very elementary. But I'll get Nelson is like the scholar of the group. He's an adjunct professor. He's super, super bright guy. Studied at Eastman University. And then actually went right on the road with Maynard Ferguson, right out of Eastman University. Went on the road with him back in '82, I think it was. Wow. But I'll always ask Nelson. I said, "Hey, Nelson," and I'll play it on the phone for him, and he'll be up in Mount Bethel. I'll be all the way down here, and he'll write it out, And then then we'll bring it to the gig and play it, and it's great. We never rehearse anything. We just, bring it to the gig, do it during the sound check, and then play it that night for the audience. And if it works out, excellent. If not, we move on to another tune. But most of the time, there's a bank of tunes that I've written, which are, that still there's a lot that we need to play.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That's really great that you were able to do that, because you guys just know each other that well. And if things aren't going good, just by the fact that you've been playing together for so long together, you guys can pull through and make it work like right away. How, was it just how'd you find these guys? What would you recommend to people who want that kind of camaraderie with their band members? Is it just that you guys jive together that well, or what's the secret there?
Well, I saw their picture on the wall in the post office, and on the Most Wanted. No, I mean, basically, a lot of it's a musicians network, right?
Yeah.
So at the time, I had a saxophone player, Neil Wetzel, that was in my group, and he was actually working on his doctorate, and he had a lot of stuff to do. So, and I said, we were working all the time. We were working almost every day of the week. And I said, well, I'm going to have to bring another saxophone player that can take over his role. So that's how Nelson came in the group. And I had always heard of Nelson for years, and heard all these great things about his playing and him. And I was really intimidated to give him a call, because I was like, wow, this guy, he's played with everybody: Gloria Estefan, Buddy Rich, Maynard Ferguson, Frankie Valli, all these great people. And I'm thinking, what's he want to play with me for? But the first night he played with us, man, it was like, it clicked, and it was felt like home, and he felt the same way. And then Dave Moan, I've played with Dave on and off for 25 years, because there used to be a jam session in Doylestown, and Dave used to come in and play drums there. And we lost touch for a little while. But then about 2005, he came into the group, and I had been playing, some gigs with him, but the drummer I had at the time decided to do other things. He was going to be a doctor, I think, or something.
You gotta find dumber bandmates, man. They just keep leaving you.
They're just going on to these next levels. And I'm sitting there, where did everybody go? So Dave came in, and then Dave Antonow was originally on bass player from 2000. Dave's been with me since 2000 for 20 years. Wow. And I had a bass player, John, who was moving to Florida, and John suggested Dave. And so basically it was all about word of mouth. I didn't hear them play. I didn't have to go to a jam session or anything like that. They came to the gig, we played, and it was this whole collective click that we all clicked together. So it was, and that's been going that way ever since. And then Jack came into the group in 2012, because Dave was going to do some different things, but Dave still plays with me. And Dave's been on cruise ships, and so that's kind of how we found each other, and still going strong to this day.
Dave, he does stuff with you with the Bucks County Paranormal Activity too, right? That's kind of stuff, yeah. So how was that something you guys naturally bonded over?
Well, it was funny, because I never knew that Dave loved filmmaking as much as I did. And I was playing with him for 12 years before I even knew this, maybe 13 years, 14 years. Wow. And he's like, yeah. He used to do stuff in college. He went to William Patterson University. And I'm like, Dave, we should, and I started this thing. I said, I had no idea, so he contributes a lot of the ideas. A lot of the things we started doing in the first few videos, they were very tongue-in-cheek, very funny. And they're still funny. They're still there's a lot of humor there, which I think is really important. But we were doing kind of spoof kind of things in the early, and Dave would be giving great ideas, and it was a lot of fun. And so Dave's on with me on a lot of the videos that he can do. And then we'll also bring in my buddy Dom, Dominic Sattel, who I've known since high school. And it's funny how when you start these things, how people come back into your life. Dom and I lost touch with each other from like 1990 until 2017 or 18.
Wow.
So we just got our friendship back, a couple of years ago. So Dom and I used to do martial arts together. So I'm always into martial arts. So years ago, we had a martial art instructional video we were going to do, like a self-defense video. We were going to market this thing. We had pictures taken, all the defense moves and things like that. But life got in the way. I think I got married the first time, and that was it. We were kind of out of it. But then he came back, and it's been great. And then I find out Dom loves filming as much as I do, and so he's been great to work with, a great guy, and So and then Jack, all these guys, have got great backgrounds as well. So not only are they great guys or great musicians, they're great people. And that's really important to have musicians wise. You have to have good people. You have to have good harmony within the structure, to make good music and, have a good time. Because you're going to spend a lot of time on the road together.
Yeah.
So you better like each other.
Wow, that's just so much knowledge, like all in such a condensed amount of time. Like, there's just so much good information there.
Just so much right there.
I
Honestly.
always forget that boxing and martial arts is something else that you do also. It's like musician, ghost hunter, boxer. And you're like, okay.
Listen, I got the ghosts. You got to be ready, man.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
If I were a
You
ghost,
got to
I'd
be
be
ready to run.
intimidated.
Or like a really aggressive heckler. You got to be able to do it.
He just won't play the Charlie Brown song. I'm getting very bent out of shape.
I think I should play that.
Yeah, you want
Do it.
to enter the fans.
It keeps cutting out a little bit.
We all know it. It's good.
I'm going to take you with me because I'm getting my external battery because I think my phone's going to die on me.
All
in a
right.
second.
Okay.
Oh, house tour.
Hang on.
That's MTV Cribs.
I'm going around here making sure there's no ghosts. Oh my God. So keep asking questions, whatever you need to know, whatever I can impart more knowledge. All right. I'm good here.
So we've been on a number of we've been on a number of shoots with you when it comes to ghosts.
Love that.
All
I
been
love it.
memorable.
Yes,
And
they have.
Very, very informative too, which is interesting. So
Well,
it's like ghost hunting's built on top of love of history almost.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just another layer to it. So you learn so much on those shoots.
Yeah. Oh, I appreciate you saying that because I feel the same way. That's one of the other reasons why I did that too, is because we here in Bucks County, we've got so much history, and even you guys up there have.
Yeah.
I think all along the Eastern Seaboard, there's so much history here. So, and I've learned so much history by doing these of my area here because it's incredible. Most of the things people drive by every day, it's like they have no idea what's there. And I confess I didn't either until I started doing more research on a lot of these things. And a lot of the buildings around here have a lot of ties to the Underground Railroad. So that's really, just that in itself is so cool. And there's some structures down the road here that are phenomenal. And kind of like this area kind of shaped our history, and so that's why I love it too. And then if you can combine the history, then the paranormal aspect is the icing on the cake. And then you add a little humor because, like I said, our stuff is very family friendly because I think that's really important too. Hollywood wants to make it scary. I get it. And there's a section of people that love that kind of stuff. I love that. But I think for our audience, you're going to capture more people when it's a little bit more family friendly, if that makes sense. So,
and there's definitely a genre or an area of the genre where they take it too seriously. And it's
yeah.
It's kind of weird watching it. It's okay.
Yeah.
It gets to be come on, another week where this guy's possessed again. It's the host.
How many times can someone get possessed in their life?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's how many. It's the other thing too. I'm gonna get a little bit trying to get some better light here. Here we go. It's like the other show. I mean, I love this show. It's called Mountain Monsters. I love it. But every episode, they have there's a Bigfoot in every episode, and they never catch it.
Yeah.
But
There's
it's
like-
great. I love it.
There's never that episode where they're like, "There's nothing. There's just nothing out here."
That's because they
Going home.
I bet they find him, but they don't show the footage because then the show's over. It's like, what are they going to do from there?
I mean, like it's season 6. Where's season 7? I want that. I want to know what happened. But it's just pure entertainment at that point, which is great. But yeah, I love it. I mean, I just love this. I love the storytelling aspect of it, and having you guys have been a big part of that. I know Pat and Lizzie, Chandler, Zach, all you guys. Josh, we've got to get you on a film shoot, man.
I want to so badly.
You haven't got our camera guy on a shoot yet. You have no idea what's happening. Like,
He's
what's going on?
Dude, I want to so badly. Every time they come back with these stories, and I'm like, "Duh!" Like, I just so badly want to be there, dude.
But I get it. You also have to make a living, man. I get it. I totally get it.
Yeah.
You're like a young George Lucas, man, ready to go. You
No, not.
Josh, where's your American Graffiti? Come on.
I haven't met my Harrison Ford yet.
Josh, what if you have, though? What if he's sitting right here in the call with you?
What if he's flying a plane over your house right now?
Harrison Ford's at your front door. Where's
Please.
the money? Where's the money?
Oh, man.
So that's cool, man. I love it. So wait, so where are you guys now? Are you all in different areas, or you're all at home?
Yeah, we're all home.
But you are. So what happened? Like I'm asking you questions. Like, so what's going on with the film now for the Hail Mary? What's going on with that?
So they actually just hit their miraculously and very generously. A few individuals like donated a large sum of money to make sure that the film got funding when this all hit. Because we had our press conference announcing everything. And within 48 hours after that,
everything got shut down.
All of this happened. So it was like, oh, well, we have no idea what's going to happen. So thankfully, obviously the shooting schedule is going to get moved. Things are going to have to get moved around, but it's still on, and this did not, kill the project, and everyone is still meeting, and everyone is still doing pre-production and, trying to work through the circumstances. So
good deal.
Yeah.
Good deal. And by the way, I have a comic for you and Lizzie and Pat.
Oh, that's awesome.
Cool.
I made comics now of our Bucks County paranormal investigation. So it's a follow-up to the video. So it's like, or you could look at it as you could look at the comic and then watch the video, because the comic is kind of like a preview.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So we did Mysteries at Mauchunk and the Inn at Jim Thorpe.
Nice.
So cool. I saw you making those when you were posting them. Like,
Yeah, they were
they're
cool.
so cool. Such a cool idea.
I just, I'm just always, again, you're talking about what you're trying to think of creatively to try to keep going there.
Yeah.
So now here's another thing that just happened too. There's a company called PJs and Pixels. I don't know if you're familiar with these people, but it was on Instagram, and I saw he was saying, submit your film and we'll put it on this platform. And it's basically like a subscription series. Mm-hmm. So I put a couple of our films. So they started like playing our In at Jim Thorpe video. And awesome. the one UFO video I did in New Jersey, and a couple of other ones too. And then I just submitted some of the comic books, so they're also going to be featuring those for people too.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I just think all those kind of things. Like if you can, I grew up in an age where it's going to sound weird, but like before you would go to a concert, you would get these really cool programs, kind of giving like a background on that particular band, right? And it had cool graphics and stuff like that. Or even like back in the day, the comic books, all those classic comics, that they're kind of gone by the wayside. They're graphic novels, which is fine, but all of that artwork is missing now. All that beautiful artwork that they had. So I still believe it or not, I still collect those too. But I love old comics, and so that's another thing too. I collect old comics and all kinds of memorabilia like that, because I just love the artwork.
I could tell from looking at the comics that you made, the digital comics you made out of that stuff, that you had to be a big fan of old comics and stuff like that, because it was done with such care and reverence for that format, and I thought it very well captured the spirit of it and the aesthetic of it. And I was like, and I didn't know that about you, that you were very into old comics like that. But yeah, I could definitely tell just by looking at that work.
I'm still like a 12-year-old kid, so you know, and I don't think that part will ever go away. I mean, I'll show you. I'll give you a little tour here, MTV Cribs. So I don't know if you can see it. So in art class in 1983, okay. So my mentor is Dave Brubeck. I wound up making this bust of Dave Brubeck. If you can see that.
Nice.
Nice.
Wow.
Awesome.
That's really good, actually.
I mean, it was like, that's from 1983. That's been, you know, but so, you know, that's how much I was inspired to by his music to do that in art class. Because the guy said in art class, we're going to do a bust of somebody that, you know, was inspiring to you. And that's what I picked. So, you know, all of these creative things, you know, I always say I have so many talents that make no money. but I do have to say, though, you know, in music wise, we've done really well. You know, because for many years it was a struggle, you know, just because when you're a band leader, sometimes you're making less than the guys, you know, in the group, you know. So, you know, but it's been rewarding. I mean, we've had some great opportunities to play. We played at the White House, Kennedy Center, all that kind of stuff is great. But my main thing is just like going into those different communities across the country and sharing our music and doing some workshops with students and who are sponges for the music, because they don't really, you know, hear much jazz. And when they do, they're like, oh my God, what is this music? And they want to start their own jazz collection. So that's really cool. You know, it's like if you could hit one person or 1 million, you know, that's what does it for me. You know, if you can inspire at least one person.
How did you navigate those times that were harder for you in the band?
Well, before I went full time with the group, I was, believe it or not, I've always been a self-starter, so I've always been an entrepreneur. So, do you guys know those restaurant placemats when you go into a diner and you see the advertisements? So I had a company that did that used to do that.
Okay.
So I had my own company, and I worked for somebody that did that same thing, and then I went on my own, but I never went into his territory. I never went in, stepped on his toes or anything like that. So I went into my own territory, and I did that for a good like 8 years to support myself. Yeah. Wow. And before that, when I got out of high school, I was house painting and, you know, anything to really try to make ends meet. But and that's what I did for a while. And then I decided just to go full time. And at that point, I was like, you know, I'm doing these placemats. I love doing it, but then it's like, you know, there's a product that you have to have out for people are waiting for. And I didn't feel like I wanted that pressure of, you know, answering to somebody else. I wanted to answer to myself. So I just did music for full time. And then we started doing, you know, the college circuit. We started going out on college tours and, all over the place. I was all over the place. And sometimes I went out to Lock Haven University, and 4 hours later we get out there and it was on a rainy, sleet, cold night. It was like, we were on Route 80 and it was just like, I had this little Toyota, and we get out to the college and there's maybe 20 people in the audience. And it was just like, it was like heartbreaking. But those are the kinds of times that, you know, I thought to myself, I'm going to give this up because this is crazy. But I never did, because the music was so much greater than the negative part of it, you know, if that makes sense somehow, you know, so I just kept going.
Wow.
You know, because if I could tell you, a lot of doors, you know, get slammed in your face in the music industry, and you have to develop like a thick skin, which, you know, it never goes away. You just got to keep going. It's like music. You're constantly introducing yourself, you know, new audiences, new people, new booking people, you know, and thankfully I've got a lot of stuff on my resume, which you would think would help out a lot, but still it's like, try to get into some jazz festivals, you know, and that nobody knows who you are. It's a tough situation.
Wow. What was that like, taking that leap to doing music full time? I mean, was there were there certain ducks you had to have in a row, before you took that plunge? Was it like when you made that transition of having that be your full-time career source of income, did you have to treat it differently than you did before, trying to mandate a certain level of
income?
work? Yeah, I mean, yeah, like, did you have to change your mindset almost about how you viewed doing that work?
Oh yeah, I mean, whatever ducks I had in a row were shot. I was taking target practice. But yeah, the ducks were so out of whack. Yeah, I mean, it was crazy because yes, you're right. You have to have like a certain plan in order. So when I decided to go full time in music, I said, well, look, if I'm going to do this, I've got to go full out. I've got to get a certain number of gigs per week. I've got to get a certain number of money that I have to shoot for each week because, you got to pay rent. You've got to do all kinds of stuff. You got to pay bills. So I started with that mindset, and yeah, it was a struggle. It was just, I will not lie to you. It was like some weeks were like, well, the bills are way behind, because I couldn't make it. One year, I think when I first started out, I had one gig for the whole year.
Oh, wow.
And that was like really bad. But that was back in that was 93 when I started. So I was still working with the placemat, thing that I had started. So I had that a little bit to fall back on. But then, then the second year I had maybe 5 jobs. Third year I had like 15 jobs. So it kept getting progressively more and more. And I think by year 5, I had like 200 jobs for the year.
Wow, that's awesome.
Because I was working it. I was working it constantly. Yeah. And then at one point, we were working practically every night of the week, whether it was like a club or, a college gig or something like that, or a tour. And that was a lot. I mean, it was a lot of traveling. It was a lot of traveling. It was a lot of wear and tear on your body. And I'd be getting home late at night. And actually I loved it though. I loved that lifestyle. It was great. I don't drink or smoke. We never did any kind of drugs or anything like that. So I wasn't into that scene, neither was, and thankfully the guys that I had in my group, in all my groups, were not like that either. So we were like, it was cool, and we were getting the job done, but it was a struggle, believe me. But then it starts to even out a little bit. And then even today, I mean, I'm still working on, when is it ever going to end? And it never will, because it's always going to be a struggle, unfortunately, in this music that I picked, because it's not the popular art form. But I do have to say, on the other hand, we have a fan base that has really latched onto us, and that's really gotten us through. And, playing for, just to give you for instance, in December, I played a winery in New Hope, and we did a straight split at the door. And I never really do. I don't like to do that. Usually whenever we get paid, we get a full guarantee right off the bat. And then maybe we'll do a split at the door ticket wise after that. But it's always like a straight guarantee. But with this one, I said, well, all right, let's just do it. I've never played there before. I've been trying to get into this place for like 20 years.
Yeah.
And finally they got us in there. Anyway, so we get in there, and it was packed to the rafters, and it was sold out.
Nice.
So you just never know how it's going to be. And then we practically made $500 a guy, each guy that night. And that was a beautiful situation,
Nice.
And it's not always like that, but it's been getting like that because we've been working at it, for all these years. But early on, any band is going to struggle until you start getting some momentum, And that's the whole thing. It's not an overnight process, unfortunately.
And you do all the booking, you do all the management and stuff for your own?
All of it.
Wow.
Booking, I'm booking the band, I'm booking those videos, talking to people there. I'm doing all the editing for those. I mean, I don't mind it. I mean, I do like it. If we get to a point where everything is like really getting too much, then I'll farm out some of the editing and stuff like that. But for right now, I can handle it. But and then even with my TV show, I've got the 2 TV shows. Hopefully, the studio will open up again, where we could do the Talking Jazz with Eric Mintel. I've been having some great guests on there, not only in the music industry, but people that are behind the scenes that are booking, and they know. So I hear from both sides of the table, what the music industry is all about.
Yeah.
And then our Bucks County Paranormal Investigations interview show. I've been having a lot of people on who are in that field, ghosts and Bigfoot. And so I've been meeting a lot of interesting people that way, authors, and it's been pretty wild. People have got some good stories, and genuinely, these people are great people. They're really, really knowledgeable people. Every once in a while, I'll get a really crazy, whacked out message on my Bucks County Paranormal page, and I don't even bother answering it. And if they're talking about like a Satan worshiping, this and all that kind of stuff, I'm like, no, I'm not touching that.
Yeah.
I was abducted into the Satan worship circle or whatever. I'm not going there.
I hope things are going better for you, but
She called the police instead.
I will refer that to Pat Lilly,
Our expert.
So are there spots you have yet to get into, haunted or otherwise, around here that you're still trying to get into? I know the Molly McGuire prison up in Jim Thorpe. It's like I've been on the ghost tour there, and it's awesome.
Oh man, that is so cool. That is that the old jail museum you're talking about? Yeah. I think that was one we were trying to get into, and I think the woman was actually thinking about having us there. So I'm going to still work on that one. But yeah, I would love to get in there and do a video there. There's a couple of places around down in Washington Crossing. The Thompson Neely House is a great historical house down there in Washington Crossing, and even Washington Crossing Park. Obviously, Washington Crossing, because Washington crossed the Delaware there, and there's a great,
sense.
Obviously. But there's a great story too about like ghosts in the park. So they'll let us film there. There's also Bowman's Tower, which is supposed to be haunted. That's a big lookout tower that you see all throughout Bucks County. But yeah, there's so many places I'd like to get into. There's a place, Haunted Hillview Manor in Newcastle, PA, which is out past Pittsburgh. I think we're going to do something there. They just actually were on TV on the Travel Channel, but I talked to this great lady, and she's like, she sees the value in what we try to do here, in all that, in the marketing aspects. So those are the people that I'm trying to reach, are those forward-thinking people, So, but yeah, to answer your question, there's a ton of places I'd like to get into that I haven't gotten into yet.
What are you gonna? You should do a like haunted jazz gig. Like find a nice haunted place.
All the jazz gigs are haunted. Well, it's funny. It's funny you say that, because that's how I started Bucks County Paranormal Investigations, because I always had this idea, even like years ago, that I wanted to have, like with the jazz quartet, we always inevitably play these beautiful theaters and these beautiful halls and there's always a ghost story, right? There's always something going on there. There's always something. So I said, why don't we do this? Well, I would love to have a show where we play the venue, get a great standing ovation and whatnot, and then that fades out and the band goes back to the venue later on that night and goes and investigates that, and investigates it and basically what we're doing now. But none of the guys in my group wanted to do that, except for Dave, which was great. But then I found, and then I found you guys, and it's kind of blossomed from there, and that's kind of how we're looking at it now. And so we're looking at like, there's the Colonial Theater in Phoenixville that we're probably going to be doing soon. And that's supposed to be really haunted. So I want to keep you guys posted on that one.
Yeah,
Josh, you got to come out to that one, man.
Dude, I'm itching to be a part of this. I'm not going to lie.
You have to go on the next one. It doesn't matter what you're doing. You have to go next time.
Cancel everything.
Yeah.
Driving on the road, just drive off the cliff.
My next door neighbor's mowing the lawn. How dare he?
Nice.
How dare he? Does he not know I'm doing a podcast? So yeah, and then on that particular theater, Houdini performed there.
Oh, wow.
Colonial Theater. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's really cool stuff. They do Blobfest there. You guys remember that old 50s movie, Blob?
Yeah.
They do like Blobfest there. So
Yeah.
it's pretty.
That's awesome.
That's really
I'd go
cool.
that.
Yeah, so all those things are great. And I just like to keep. I always like to keep things on the like looking forward to the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're sitting around. I mean, it's hard to say, but now you're sitting around and trying to figure out what the hell's going on, what's going to happen next. And just try to plan for the future now.
Do you find that helps with like the mindset is trying to look forward to when it's going to be better instead of dwelling on how it is now or what it was?
Yeah,
I think a lot of people are waiting instead of preparing, which I feel like is like a lot more productive. They're just like waiting till it's over and then they're gonna figure out what to do, as opposed to being like setting up a game plan. It's hard to do because so much stuff's in motion still, and we have no idea.
Yeah.
But
it's hard because you don't know. Like it's a big waiting game. So yeah, but having a plan of action is cool though, because then when everything does open up, then you go right into it. And that's why I sent out maybe 100 emails and actually individual email to a lot of different venues. I didn't send out batch emails because to me that's impersonal. You want to be like, give it a personal touch. So, and as a result of that, I got a couple of people saying there was a lady in Florida. I was going all over the place, like down to Florida. And she said that there was a university down there. And she's like, as soon as everything opens up, we want to have you guys come down here and do a tribute to Dave Brubeck. So if I get something down there, then I could work on more venues there that I can work on a little tour.
Yeah.
And in October, I'm going to early October. I'm going to Georgia, so we're going to do about a week-long tour down there.
Oh, that's awesome.
Hopefully, and that'll stay good. I've got like 2-3 dates in South Carolina, and then the rest of the dates are going to be down in Georgia.
That's so cool.
And we were supposed to go to the Hilton to a great place called the Jazz Corner, and that just got postponed until next year or so. But such is life. That's gonna happen, But and how are you guys coping with it? Like keeping creative, obviously. But how do you deal with it?
I just bought a drum set, so that's been it's actually behind me right now. It's electronic, so I don't disturb my house too much. That's been interesting.
That's great.
I think just by the nature of who we are, we've all kept ourselves very busy and have just kind of found outlets for ourselves. It's been a good time. I think we're making the most out of it.
I think we're finally well equipped to deal with something.
Yeah.
Oh, totally. I mean, you guys have got like, and not to sound crazy, but it's like you got your head screwed on straight, which is great. And you guys are young, and it's nice to see that you have a vision. You've got a collective vision of where you want to go, and I love that. And I think that's just something that you're going to have to keep cultivating, and not give up on it. Even though it's like some days I'm sure you're like, but you just got to keep going.
Yeah.
So even this is a worldwide thing that's happening, but I think everyone kind of goes through these phases individually. This is just a collective one, so we can all see the impact it's having on everybody at the same time, as opposed to when it happens to individuals and it's less. It's a little. I don't know. It's not as easy to empathize. I'm not gonna say it's hard.
Noticeable.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
So do you think this is going to be the last time like this in your life? If it happens again, it's just probably going to be to you.
Yeah.
Right.
Everybody.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's all like, and it's going to be a change. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. It's going to be like we're going to have to, change, and there's a few things that are going to have to be in place for a little while, and then hopefully we'll get back to normal. I mean, they've had pandemics before, and things have gotten back to to normal, but this is obviously a little bit stranger than than before. So hopefully it'll be over with and we can all get back to what we do, and trying to create and change people's lives for the better. That's the main thing. I mean, look at what we're doing now. I mean, this will be seen forever somewhere,
That's true.
Yeah.
Whether they like it or not.
No.
and at the end of the show, Pat's playing a drum solo, even though it's electronic.
Yeah. Just gonna hear thudding.
Just banging.
Man, he is a good drummer. Oh my God. So, and Lizzie, let's get you in here. Questions, comments.
Questions for me or from me?
I saw your post with all your classic videos there, man. You have a very eclectic movie collection there.
Yes.
Look behind her. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's,
Right here.
There's all VHS or there's DVDs?
Those are DVDs. I have VHSs downstairs. I didn't break those out yet.
God, didn't have
Yeah.
enough shelving.
I don't actually. I have too many things in this room, probably. And I just repainted. I painted my ceiling,
Oh, it looks good.
which is cool.
They
Thank
show
you.
the moon thing.
and
Show
you've
the
been
ceiling.
in general.
And I painted my hair also.
I see that. It matches
Yeah,
the
the
ceiling.
ceiling.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Thank
That's
you.
a good
Cool
deal.
thing about quarantine is I think each of us individually, especially Lizzie, I feel like she's winning in the taking up new hobbies category.
True.
She's done like 3 at this point.
It's painting, but just
Even
different things.
you're
you
making
know?
you're wearing a T-shirt you just made.
Yes, I made
Yes.
this T-shirt. See,
So
poorly edited podcast, and it has a radio.
I love that.
This.
Oh yeah, I love that. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
You did that. That's great.
Thank
Yeah.
For you.
So it's like I think that's what's cool about it is because of everything being the way it is, it's allowed everyone to examine their lives and have time, if they're lucky, to do things they never had time to before, or they thought I can't do that. I'll never be able. It's like, well, you have time now. You know,
Yeah.
you can pursue it. You can do it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, in some ways, it's nice that everybody's gotten together. You know, we've been sitting down for family dinners at night, and it's nice. It's a nice thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know, and it's good that you know, even though we're apart, we are together. You
Mhm.
know, if that makes sense. So,
Yeah.
you know, I think it's good. I think it's to try to challenge yourself. You know, I just went through a challenging thing. I know you guys know I was in the hospital for 5 days
Mhm.
and just had no clue this was going to happen. But I will tell you, don't ever take any ibuprofen or aspirin or a Motrin or anything like that. I mean, I wound up getting like this GI bleed because I was taking too many aspirins and painkillers for this like hip injury that I had.
Mhm.
And it was literally boring a hole in my gut.
Yeah.
And I was literally bleeding out. I mean, I had to they had to put 2 pints of blood back in. And I was in bad shape. If I wasn't already at the hospital, the doctor said it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
Jesus.
So I was like thankful for that. So yeah, that made me kind of like re-examine like, you know, more healthy options and things like that. But being in martial arts all the time, I was kicking the heavy bag a lot at the gym, and that wasn't a problem. I wound up stretching here and using like a Swiss ball to stretch out my muscles, and that's how it happened. I wound up like getting bursitis because I was stupid, and it was insane, and the pain was unbelievable. So I was literally like bedridden for like a week and a half. I couldn't even get out of bed. And then I went to the doctor finally, and then this thing happened, and I was in the hospital for 5 days. So, I mean, it's like, thank God. I'm so grateful to be out of there. But and then I got really great care. But it really taught me that, hey, you know what? You can't be doing all that kind of stuff, you know? And, you know, I had some back problems and whatnot, but I just vowed right then and there, never taking another painkiller again.
Yeah.
And, it was just bad news. They said if you're going to take something, take Tylenol, you know, because that'll probably be a lot better than all the other ones. And it was just insane. So, yeah, so that was my challenge. And thankfully, I was in a part of the hospital that had no COVID patients. So, like, it was all isolated. And that I wasn't even in that building. There was nobody there. So I was completely isolated. But
Wow.
it was, yeah. So, but I was still being creative. I was like still in my hospital gown. I'm in the hospital bed, and I'm making a funny video about the nurses saying, I told them to bring me salt. They didn't bring salt, you know? So I'm making this whole big video up, and I'm just still trying to be creative, you know, trying to look at a serious situation like being funny. And so anyway, so that was a little hiccup there, but I feel like $1 million now. So this is
I'm glad to hear
That's
it.
good,
I was
yeah.
worried.
Thank you. Because you know what, we got a lot more filming to do, guys.
Yeah.
Honestly. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
I think we're hitting time soon.
Pretty soon.
Anybody's got any final words to say? Come on, Josh.
fourth,
I think we said a lot.
Yeah, we did say a lot.
Yeah,
we did.
I actually I just want to say, if you don't mind, how grateful because when I heard the news about you being in the hospital, it was pretty alarming, and I just want to reiterate how grateful we are that you're doing a lot, but that you're fine now. And
We were all
despite
worried.
Well,
honestly,
I really appreciate that a lot, and I really appreciate you thinking about me, and you know, it really does mean a lot. And I told everybody that too. I said these guys are phenomenal, and first words out of their mouth were like, "How are you feeling?" You know, I don't even get that sometimes from my own family members. So it's really, really nice to hear. So I appreciate that. And my daughter was you know, scared and stuff, but she was a great helper too. So everybody was great, and really, really appreciate that. And just because of that, I think I'm going to play a little tune out for you guys.
All right.
Sure.
Play us out, yeah.
And maybe about a minute or so, right? How's that?
Yeah,
Okay.
that sounds great.
yeah, perfect.
Where can people find your music, Eric? For people that want to hear the Eric Mintel Quartet.
EricMintelQuartet.com. They can find stuff on CDBaby.com. They can find all of our tunes on iTunes and Spotify.
Yeah.
Eric Mintel Quartet. You can find everything from 2002 to now.
Cool.
A lot of tunes.
That's 20 years of music, everybody. So go check it out.
Or else.
Or else. Eric will get somebody to haunt you.
Thank you.
One of the ghosts, his ghost friends.
Exactly. So I'll play a little blues and then we'll cut it.
All right.
Thank you guys so much for watching, listening, hanging out. And this has been the Poorly Edited Podcast. And we hope you have a great day and you're staying safe.